Hello, welcome back to the basement of Accidental Theatre. I'm sat here with Alan Niblock. We're going to have a quick conversation about him, his career, and the fact he'll be back next Thursday, pretty much nearly at this time. He'll be back performing above us in the theatre. So, Alan, welcome to the basement.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah, no problem.
So tell me, you're obviously coming back next Thursday for Handmade Music. It's the second Handmade Music that we've had as part of the kind of series that Sonic Arts Research Centre, Moving On Music and ourselves have been staging. So you're second up in the lineup.
My second up. I didn't know. I didn't mind where I was coming up. I'm just looking forward to it. It's nice to be asked.
And what are you kind of going to be bringing for that event? What can we look forward to seeing?
Well, you will get a flavour of what's happening in my new album. I have something on the heat at the minute, and it's entitled The Water Bearer. And I'm an Aquarian, true and true. And although I don't follow it too much, but the project appealed to me personally, just where I'm sitting at the minute in my musical career. And of course, I've just finished 2 solo albums, so this is the 3rd one. So I really have to step up to the mark, and it has given me an opportunity to get a breath. And now that I've got that breath, I want to spend it wisely. So I'm busy compiling tracks as we speak. I've enough for the album, but I would nowhere near the level of where I want it to be.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And for those who haven't seen your music or haven't seen your work so far and haven't followed the career, what can we expect? Is it your double bass?
Well, you'll hear double bass, of course. I'm bringing the voice in. I'm using the spoken word, not for the first time. My first solo album, Scratching the Surface, I was doing a bit of warbling and stuff, getting involved in the title of the tune, Scratching the Surface, because it meant so much to me that I wanted to add that to it. But now it's more bringing the spoken word in. I really don't know what way it'll go, but at the moment I have 2 tracks ready for the, I have 2 tracks ready for the album. I'm very happy about that. There's one called Paradigm Shift, and the second one is called The Independent Aquarian.
Brilliant. And so we're going to get a taste of those tracks next week, and at the same time, they're what's going on.
You will hear a
album.
flavour of those tracks, only because it's good for me to do that. It's good for Accidental Theatre to offer me the space, and of course, Moving On Music, with being connected with the Brilliant Corners Festival. I just want to sort of air them a little bit and see how that flows.
Brilliant. Yeah. So tell me a bit, so you have had a career that mostly involves being in bands or being in groups, and you've now moved into a solo career kind of phase. Yeah,
well, the pandemic has been the cause of that.
The pandemic, as the great cause of many an artistic shift.
Yes. I like the way you put that. Yeah, it is very much like that. Well, the real story about that was 2019 was when I recorded my first solo album. And what happened was, unfortunately, the funding for the Derry Jazz Festival didn't come in for me for a million reasons, but I had to accept that because they've been very supportive to me. I just want to say thank you, Derry, for the wonderful support that you've given me. But what happened was I went ahead and booked the studio anyway and just decided to go in and plunge in and do something of my own creativity, just on my own. So that's what I did, and I never got round to getting it mixed until the following year. So that's how the first solo album took place.
Brilliant. So end of 2019, or when is the Derry Jazz Festival? Normally?
The Derry Jazz Festival is the end of April, early May.
Early May.
Yeah.
So you had this already kind of brewing, it was already kind of gestating in the mind, and then the opportunity came to
yeah, well, I got the money to get it mixed.
Well, that also helps.
Yeah, and the cookie, the best part of it was I was able to get FMR Records to release it.
Brilliant.
Which was great. FMR Records did that for me, and that was wonderful for me. Now, of course, I can't take anything like that lightly. I was very happy with that response.
Yeah. What's it like as it's because moving from being a group performer into a solo performer, and then that kind of process of taking a piece of work from, from the idea into the gestation, into the mix, into the release. What's that kind of like for
Well, the release didn't bother me so much. The fact that I got that release, which was great, it was more the plunge into the deep water and sort of like, I was running around it was just like, I can remember, it took me 54 minutes to record it, and there's 54 minutes on the album, so it took me 54 minutes to do the album. So I pushed myself into such a corner that I had to just deliver those 54 minutes as best I could within that time frame. I wasn't so much under pressure about the 54 minutes. I just wanted to do it. I accepted that that's where the crux was. So I just dealt with it as best I could. I know now I could do something better within that 54 minutes. Maybe not so much better, but understand it a bit better.
And 54 minutes. Why 54 minutes is a
That's just
limit?
the way it was.
That's the way it is.
I just went along and I just said, look, that's it. It's over. And that was great, and that was it. And I just went on home and left it there on the shelf until I could give them some money to mix it. Yeah.
And how long does that process take then, from the idea of it, before the opportunity came to kind of lay it down?
I was let down on the support, which it was somebody else's turn. I understand that, but it was like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks to sort of just decide I'll go ahead and book it and do something. I just had to make that effort, that conscious effort of moving forward. And
So at the beginning of the 2 weeks, did you know what you were going to do, or was it just more, this is the opportunity?
No, knowing what you're going to do never comes into it.
Yeah?
No, it never comes into it. You never know what you can prepare. You can sort of, you can dress it up, or you can look at it and blah, 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 but you never know what you're going to do, really,
Because is that because there's the large improvisational nature of it, or is it because of, that's just the way you like to work?
Well, that's a deep question. It's not the way I like to work because I've never worked in that situation before. It's the first time, so it's time to do it, really, and it's time to survive. That's what it is. It's surviving. And I don't, once I did the album, I listened to it, and I haven't listened to it since, because I was too busy trying to move forward. And then of course you move forward, and of course then my second album came along, and then that was another completely different approach, because I recorded that at home. So only because of the circumstances.
And that was because of lockdown?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and how is that a different process for you? Doing that as a home record versus
Well,
a studio
I was like quite hyper. The fact that I had an album out with FMR Records, I was very excited about that, and I just said, right, come on, I can't wait to get my teeth into something else. So I had been, the album, the second album, Free Radicals, it was a reverse role. I'm usually conceptual in many ways in my early stages of ambient forces, and conceptualizing what the project's going to be, and then putting the music to it. This time I did the music under. We've all been mentally and physically affected by the pandemic. Musicians like to gig, and then when you're not gigging, it's like, what are we supposed to do? So that was difficult to try and get that together. But of course, we all suffered the same thing, and then family issues and stuff. But I think what I did was I just decided, my daughter lent me a recorder. I'll share that with you. And I just used that to record tracks, and then I was able to send them to the same guy, Rory Donaghy from Derry who did the first album, and he was able to sort of put it into some shape, add some sort of life to it a little
And
bit.
is this all double bass, or is this all a mixture of different instruments? So if you've got a recorder from your daughter, are you recording different instruments with that one recorder, or is it all double
Oh no,
bass?
just straight in double bass,
Double bass.
just straight with it. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is very basic, and yeah.
What's it like making an album for just one instrument, as in double bass? I mean, you know it so well.
It's up to me to make it. It's up to me to make it colourful.
Yeah.
That's where the challenge is. That's where the challenge is. It has opened the flower a little bit, really. The first time it was just a bud, really, and now we've got something that's starting to open up. That's how I look at it. Now that you've asked me the question, that's how I look at it. But yeah, so there's a bit of colour coming into my musicianship and my solo work. I'm just blessed to be able to have my second album out, and I'm working on number 3. Number 3 is another it's another step up where it's personal.
Yeah. When you say step up, what do you mean?
I mean, it's more serious, more personal. You have to keep ahead of the game. You got to keep moving forward. You, meaning myself, I feel that. And feeling is something, it's probably one of my stronger attributes. I want to sort of feel something, and then I just sort of deal with it.
How do you normally take that kind of feeling and translate it into the double bass? Because it's an interesting instrument because you have a very physical connection to it. So is that a normal kind of motivator for you, that you take that kind of emotional
Well,
input
I've
into
always sort of, the double bass is part of the family. It's part of the family. So
it's on the chair in the room for dinner?
yeah, well, no, well, it was played before dinner, so it's just, that's not an issue. The double bass isn't an issue. People say, how do you carry that around? But when you love something, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then translate. What's the kind of the method that you would translate that kind of that emotion into the double bass? So is it a instrument that you find that you naturally connect with very quickly, or is it a very difficult thing to kind of
No,
build
I mean,
with?
trying to bring out what you've got to say is very difficult, whether it's going to be on a flute or it's going to be on a guitar. I like the double bass because I like the bottom end. I like the foundation. I've always started from the foundation of something and build upon that. So that's where I love the double bass. And yeah, I take it from there. And there's certain things I want to say on the double bass that I can't say, but I'm doing my best to say them. So I work towards that, and it's such an exciting journey.
Brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
I do love it. Yeah. For the right reasons, of course.
What would the wrong reasons be?
Well, family comes first.
Yeah.
So you got those issues to deal with. And then when I get the time, I know what I need to do, and I can't wait to do it. Now, that's not to say when I'm behind the bass that nothing's happening. I mean, there are loads of times when there's nothing happening, but I know what I need to do. I need to keep the fluency going. I need to sort of blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, something happens. There's a narrative there, and I can hear that, and I sort of go, I question the narrative. Who are you? What is this? And then I take that forward, and I like what I hear, and so hence my memory cards are full up because they don't last that long. It's not that I record everything I do, but I do keep that handy to continue my journey and
brilliant.
Make sure I've got the best of what I can offer on that particular day.
So it's a constant kind of record and review and evolve the kind of practice as you go.
Yes, not over the top review, not over the top record either. I try to keep my sensibility about me, and I'm dealing with frequencies at the minute, so it's the first time I've ever did that. So I'm looking at frequencies, and I love that difference.
And when you say frequencies, for those who don't, like me, who don't quite understand, in terms of frequencies you're looking at?
Tuning into C, which is 528 kilohertz, and that's 444. So 444, you're tuning the bass higher. And for harmonical purpose...
So it's literally pitch frequencies? And
yeah, pitch frequency. It's a big deal. At the minute, it's groundwork for me. I can't really discuss too much about it, but there's quite a lot on the internet about it. And of course, the other frequency is 428. The concert pitch is 440, and there's a bit of subject to debate, really, for reasons for that, and people can question that online as well. But 428 is more subtle, you know, it would be like a nighttime frequency. It's more spiritual, maybe, in many ways. It's lower on the double A.
So it's lower, more meditative in some ways?
Yes, it is more meditative, yeah. The E string is lower, so...
And how are you taking advantage of that? How do you want to play with it?
Well, how do you take advantage of something it's hitting you right in the face?
Yeah.
You just have to deal with it and just enjoy.
Because the bass obviously is a much lower tone, so it's...
well, it means you can't... I love using the hammer. I've got like a mallet and different mallets I use, different degrees of mallets, which I love using. And it's something that's not used too much, but I've just got into using them. I love using them, but then I love using the bow and blah, blah, blah. But when the strings are tight, 444, I can loosen the bow a little bit and I can get a bit more play out of the bow. Whereas when it's 4 to 8 hertz, then I can tighten the bow up. Whereas, you know, if you mallet the string, it can slap off the neck. I don't particularly like the slappy sound because it's too toppy and cuts the ear a little bit, and it's not delivering what I want it to deliver. So I'm trying to get into the technique of that, so as I'm not making I'm making music rather than noise. I'm making sound rather than disruptive noise.
Yeah, so you're not just trying to do a technical exercise, it's both an emotional and artistic exercise.
Yeah. So I'm not able to say what I really want to say because I'm hitting something too hard or I'm not hitting it hard enough, depending on the frequency. But I love all that diversity.
Lovely.
It's great. It's great. And it's food for thought.
Definitely. So we have obviously Handmade coming up next week, where you'll be back and we'll get a sense of some of this fantastic work, hammer and bow in hand, one each. No.
Yeah, well, you never know.
You never know. Yeah.
Actually, I've tried that. It's a bit ridiculous, really. But, you know, anyway, I'll try and get across what I really want to say and whatever way that is. But I do get your point.
So Handmade's on next Thursday. It's the 2nd of March. Please feel free to come along. Alan Niblock, who's also on YouTube as Alan Niblock, I believe.
Yes, I'm on YouTube with a few different things. Yes, I am.
And look out for the third album coming out, Untitled or...
It's titled The Water Bearer. I think it'll stay at that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, The Water Bearer.
Thank you very much, Alan, for joining us in the basement.
I can't believe it's over. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.